Man.
I see Navek did their usual.
Oh man, it just went bad. So I had to, our Wi-Fi, router turned off. So I have to revert to, but while I was reconnecting to QCell router that I have, it's a portable one, they just came back on it. So our electrical systems here, I've noticed when it's raining or it's storming, or they have to turn them off. I don't know whether they, I think most places are not protected.
I have no idea where they get that from, but I always keep seeing
even last night around 9 o'clock, the same thing. Anytime it's raining, you can expect the power to go.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it just in another sense, good timing, because we were talking about some of the damages that the Gambia administration.
You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You are muted.
Yeah. So one institution that could have benefited a lot over the years, not just from Jawara's time, Jammeh's time, and now to Barrow's time, is Nawek. Unfortunately, we're still struggling with electricity here, and probably that is the genesis of all our underdevelopment to some extent. But yeah, we were talking about how those the social fabric, the intermarriages, the interethnic marriages have actually served as a bulwark against, what could have easily been intertribal skirmishes and so on and so forth. And we thank Allah for that. And I think, like you mentioned, we also thank Gambians in general for their maturity in most cases. We've seen here and there some person would make incendiary remarks and things like that. It happens, but I think generally Gambians, have a respect for each other without necessarily pinning down to their social or cultural backgrounds and so on. But yeah, so
just to throw a little bit of that in there, because you were saying in some other countries, I think where you have this serious divide, especially on tribal lines, is maybe in Delta, because ours we have intermarried. That's fine. The size of our country too played a part, because we're so small a country that if you do not know me, you will know my brother. If I do not know you, I will probably know your cousin. And
absolutely,
all the things came in that. I think our advantage in here, our strength, our diversity is our advantage.
yes.
It's not bad, but it's not bad for us to even camp in like Jolas, Mandinkas, Fulas, and all that. That's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. The whole essence of people rallying around each other is to help each other. Now, if I rally around you and I rally around
you are not coming on. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on. Is somebody sabotaging our conversation?
I am hearing you.
You're back on now.
I'm back on?
No, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, but you can.
You're clear now. You're clear.
Okay. No,
Yes.
I'm saying the whole thing that people are saying, if you and I are friends and we're from the same tribe, we think that's an issue, or people ganging up together, like you go to some other places, you have Mandinka society, Wala society, Jola society. It's not a problem. It should be a celebration of our diversity. It will become a problem if Mandinkas gang up each other and then do not want to have to do anything with other person, and anything that is for the benefit of the next person who is not part of them. They basically, when we exploit in a negative way our strength, that is always going to be a problem. And that's not just about tribe. It can happen with religion, or even with family, or any other thing. So I think sometimes what we are seeing in social media, I refuse to believe that that is actually what exists in the Gambia as a people. In social media, I have enough airtime. I can sit over here and write anything I want. But some silliness or some craziness coming from me should not be projected on the rest of my people to be like, this is how they feel about it happens everywhere, even within families. So I think you're right. Our intermarriages and how we are as a community also help a lot in avoiding some of the things that could have been serious issues in that country.
Definitely. Definitely. So let's move on to the hot stuff. Pata is an avowed UDP member. How do you evaluate politics in this country, governance in this country, leadership in this country? How well are we doing under the current leadership?
So a little bit of context in here is if you look at where we come from the 22 years of Jammeh. I remember when the struggle was going on, I used to say, I do not care who comes in. And one reason I was saying that is not because I don't care about a good leadership. I did care about it. But then I'm thinking with what is happening with Jammeh, when he is out, however poor that leadership is, will not be as bad as him for the simple fact that the killings and this kind of deliberate prosecutions and the exiling and then the disappearances will cease. But then also I was with the but then also I was with the hope that the crop of leaders that we had that were going to be around, whoever was going to be, especially after the coalition was formed, I thought that would have been the best sort of leaders that we have. They might not be perfect, but I'm thinking if you have some from UDP, you have some from DO, you have some from PPP, and you're able to collage those together, you should be able to help anybody who was coming in, considering how Adamo was.
Yes.
And Adamo has every perfect opportunity to do this. Like I said, he had the support of almost all the political parties. But the deviation came in when he had this ambition to succeed himself, right? And then we can go ahead and debate that, and now just kind of like an academic exercise or even a Bantaba catcher for people to say, oh, XYZ was the reason this did not happen. But the buck stops at the president. He is the one who was tasked with employing the right people, getting rid of the right people, doing the right thing, setting the right agenda. If he failed in that part, when you had people like my party principals in the government, Mr. Dabo, Lamindiba, and Amasana, who were doing whatever they could to help him, and he deviated. In their absence in government, you would think that he would have been doing better if those were the impediment. What we are seeing now is we have a government that is not that has no direction. All President Barrow wants to do is to do some artificial facial stuff that he can point to say that I built this road, I built this school, I did that, so he can win a re-election. But when it comes to how our economy is managed, our debt portfolio is going out there and it's crazy. We're looking at the cost of living in that country. And I heard him talk about it last time that when I was coming, where the rise was, that's what it was. One, that was not true, but even if that was true, that was not what the goal was. It was to get better. What we are seeing in that country, but the politics is getting nastier, and then maybe we can excuse that to see the social media thing is what is getting it out of hand. But so even in the country, even where that's how people feel, they were able to massage it and control it in a way that it is not going to be protected in public for people to say that we're about to go to war. We just have a leadership that is not helping, because when you have a leader coming in public, instead of talking about how you're going to advance the lives of people, you're going about talking about things that are irrelevant, like having to talk about deaf people, having to talk about what you were doing as a kid. I understand we all want to understand the genesis and where somebody comes from, but when things are serious to a point that we're dealing with COVID at this time, the cost of living is getting higher, and then we're going into elections with all the rhetoric that's going on social media, and you're fueling and finding that it is just the poor leadership we have. So our politics is, I am not overly scared like many people to say that December is going to be nasty to the point that we're going to go to war. I don't think that's going to happen. But I also think that we have a lot at stake as a country, that it is necessary that we effect a change. I support the UDP government. When UDP as a party, when they were in government, I remember having to have conversations with Mr. Dabo, and I honest to God did tell Mr. Dabo how I was feeling. There is one thing people keep telling me, like, oh, you never say anything about your party. But that's the discipline that you have when you belong to an institution. If you and I are friends, but if I have found something about you, instead of going in public to say, Alieu had done this, but that and that, I think it would be necessary and prudent for me to come to you first and tell you, hey, Badara, this is what I noticed. I was doing that with my party. Even with my National Assembly members, they would tell you, the Senators, the Honorable Yakumba, like Davos and all this. I will actually consult these people and I will revert it. I will talk to them, hey, this is what I think is going on. What do you guys think? I do that, and this is what I disagree with. I just did that with my National Assembly member of his submission in the National Assembly. a couple of days ago, I told him, Honorable Sani, that I do not agree with him, with how he was supporting that stuff. So even where I support the UDP, if the UDP comes into power, and I'm noticing the kind of things that is happening in President Barrister, even where I do not come publicly and say them, I would state my objection to the people involved. All what we are having now, our politics is been muddied and dirtied by a leadership who is the chief executive of the country, who should have been cleaning things up and getting people together and having the people to the country forward, but he is not helping.
How do you respond to
the economy? Would have been fine, but he is not.
How do you respond, because all of us replete on social media, UDP gave us Barrow. How do you respond to that?
So here's the thing, and I keep telling this: the UDP is not a monolithic religion where you have, like, you go to school and there's an ideology that you read. We are not a data where people come now, what I did, you go read and just go away. We are you are different from me. I am different from the next person. Somebody else is different. Just even as a country, in the UDP, it's the same in there. Talib's mindset might be different from mine or Mr. Dabo. Rohis might be different from the next person. Somebody might be different from you. If you look at Adama and say the UDP gave us Adama, you can equally credit the UDP for giving us Hussein Dabo. You can credit the UDP for giving us Talib and giving us Rahi or even Landin Sane. It's a whole bunch of people. It's not like we have a book that we read. Political parties, people who join political parties do not always have 100% alignment in ideas or thoughts. And I was even telling people this: you don't have to agree with a political party 100% for you to join them. If you look at their programs or even the people in that party, and you believe that, let's even say a good 65% you agree with some of their stuff, the things that you disagree with, when you come into the party, this is how you work and making sure that those things also come into the party. So everybody's not going to be the same. Adama Barrow was an executive of the party, but Adama was never at any point involved in setting the ideas of the party, agenda of the party and stuff. So there wasn't any set idea that you say Adama believed in this and now he deviated. He belonged to a people who had a different set of ideas, and now he deviated from that. What we are seeing now is UDP presented Adama as an alternative. The PDOIS presented Honorable Salah, NRP presented Ahmad Ba, and NCP presented another person. When they went over there, they presented what they would do. The majority of the people, the delegates, UDP, you have to understand, UDP only went with 70 delegates.
Just like all the other parties, yeah.
Just like the rest of the parties. So if UDP were able, UDP 70 voted for them, and the rest of the parties, there are 70s voted for Adama, in hopes that Adama is the better candidate in there. Though that is democracy, that's what happens. You can go into these things with good faith, but you cannot usually predict the outcome. Whoever will, let's even say, because today in those who were running for president, I don't think there's anybody in there who is more educated than Honorable Dabo. I don't think there's anybody in there who has any sort of experience in anything relative to governance than Mr. Dabo. But it's not 100% guaranteed that what I am expecting of Mr. Dabo as a president will come to fruition. You cannot blame me for having that hope and expectation of him. I am voting for him and I'm supporting him in good faith. The UDP presented Adama as a candidate. The rest of the candidates presented theirs, and they voted for him. Now, the people who were even part of it, all the rest of the parties, you can even credit them for giving them for Adama, because we had seen them going around the country campaigning for Adama, telling people that this is the person to replace Yahya Jammeh.
Yeah. So basically, in essence, you are saying, of course, Adama was part of the UDP, but it was the country that elected him.
100%.
Including all the other people who now basically distance themselves, including Doi, including PPP, including all of them, right?
Yeah, it was everybody's Adama. It was everybody's Adama. Anybody who was opposed to Yahya Jammeh and wanted change, they voted for Adama. The reason that they voted for him is the same reason that I supported him. That in hopes that he's going to come and change things. Now, if that failed, you cannot blame that on the UDP. Let's even say Adama had come on with the UDP agenda, because UDP, we have to understand, going to 2026, UDP provided a roadmap to 2021, and that did come with their programs. If Adama had gone with that programs and we have seen failures in there, one can understand. But then it was a totally set of programs that he had come up with, and he had the powers to appoint anybody he wanted. He was not under the influence of any UDP executive or any UDP as a party. He did what he did That is it. That is him. So it's everybody's Adama. The notion that UDP gave us Adama is just silly. You're gonna even hear it in a democracy. It does not make sense. I don't believe it. I don't
Yeah,
believe it.
I want to give you another opportunity to respond to another criticism. People say that it was Honorable Dabo, Lawyer Dabo, that is, who emboldened Adama when basically people were typing news around Adama on the 3 years matter. He basically gave him a leash when he said, whoever challenged him, whoever wants him to leave before 5 years, I'm going to challenge you in court and all that stuff. Do you think that emboldened Adama, or was it just because Adama already had a premeditated intention to basically betray the things that he agreed to with the rest of the country?
But I honestly believed in the past, or maybe even now, I want to believe that when Adama was coming, his intention was that he was going to come for like 3 years, do whatever he wanted to do, and go his way. I believe that. I also believe that the division that we had within the UDP, we have some members, especially some of us who were in the diaspora in here, and some people got angry that they did not have certain access to Mr. Dabo, or maybe they were not appointed and they started going their way and lean towards President Barrow. I believe that they played a very serious part in the divide. And I believe because of that set of people, I want to credit them for being the people who actually did tell Adama that you can do this, and I think you need to stay longer. But I also want to believe, considering what we're seeing now, whatever Mr. Dabo said, I also believe that might have influenced Adama to say that, you know what, I can do 5 years. I believe that. But from what we are seeing now, with what Adama is saying, how his pronouncement and his actions, I want to believe that Adama had reneged on this 3-year issue a long time ago. When they were asking Adama about the 3 year and a 5 year, and when he was saying 5 years too soon, 3 years too soon, I didn't think at the time Mr. Dabo had said anything, because when Mr. Dabo was saying that issue, that was in March of 2017. When they were interviewing Adama, when he was saying that, oh, I'll go back to my business in Dakar, blah, 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 or we were a coalition, we will see how the work goes, because the very first press conference that he had in the country when he came back, Sheriff Bojan Jr. specifically asked this question. Then, Mr. President, you are elected for 3 years. Are you sure that no matter what happened, you're going to do that 3 years? He said, well, we have a work to do. We will see how that goes. It's a coalition. It's just a verbal agreement, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Dabo had already, when he was saying that, Mr. Dabo did not say this. And people have to put this thing in context too. When Mr. Dabo was saying that, this was a press conference that had to do with the National Assembly elections. They were having discussions as to how they were going to approach the National Assembly election, which was not included in their initial arrangements for the presidential. Because if it wasn't there, there wouldn't have been any need for them to sit and say they were going to talk about the National Assembly elections if they were already set plans as to how that was going to go about. Now, when these conversations came, I remember Honorable Salah came out and said they did not have a consensus or an agreement as to how they were going to approach the National Assembly, because some parties do not want to go as a coalition. That was the UDP, the GDC, and other people. And then when they asked, but what happened? He said, well, you probably want to have to go and talk to them, ask those people. Mr. Dabo then organized, Mr. Dabo, NRP and GMC and then NRP organized a press conference to go and clear that they're still part of the coalition, contrary to what the perception that Honorable Salah was giving out there, that this we want to pull out of the coalition and go on their own. And they explained that they gave an alternative. In the discussion, there were plans. There were others who were saying that let's go as a coalition and fill a whole National Assembly full of independent candidates. The UDP said that that would not be necessary. What we can do is we can still go as parties. Let's go and contest based on our strength. Let us not just contest against each other, because the idea was to ensure that they have dominance in the National Assembly, so the programs of the coalition government will go ahead. If you come up with an idea to say let's go as independent, I come with an idea to say no, there wouldn't be any need for going independent. Let's not just contest against each other. We just go every person contest you where you think your strength is. How is that a problem? Why do you think that yours is more genuine, or for the interest of the country? You advance yours and I advance mine. So it was in that conversation. Somebody, I remember it was Lamin Sanya who was working for the father, and I would say, well, Mr. Dabo, everybody is saying the reason you are making this thing difficult or going about it is because you are hungry for power. Mr. Dabo said, if I were hungry for power, I wouldn't have told my colleagues in the meeting that President Barrow should go for 5 years. If he was interested if it was just for power, he probably would have said 3 years, because with what was going on at the time, though, like would have been very easy for UDP to say 3 years so Mr. Dabo can come in. So his response to say, in fact, you have to go and tell those people, ask those people who were trying to force the president to resign in 3 years. They are the ones who are hungry for power, not me, Hussein Dabo. And I told them in that meeting that anybody who wants to force the president to resign, I will be the first to defend him in the court. I get that. The whole premise was that they cannot force the president, but that's what necessitated it. Okay, did that give Adam a little bit of impetus to say, here is somebody that I belong to the same party who is on my side, and I agree. But he did not have to listen to Mr. Dabo. Mr. Dabo is just kind of like anybody else. And I had said this in my thing. I said I would only blame Adama for this if Adama had said, you know what, of all the political, no, I'm going to do whatever I want. It doesn't matter what it was. Because if they had put this to a vote, and majority of them said, you know, Adama, you have to go for 3 years. It was only Mr. Dabo who said 5 years. Adama could have said, Mr. Dabo, you are alone on this issue. I'm going to ride with the 3 years because that's the agreement that I had before you were here. So I think that point has been made. They cannot blame Mr. Dabo, especially considering Mr. Dabo had an interview the other day and he said Adama had not even been consulted on any major issue. And President Barrow, not even in one of his statements to say that Mr. Dabo had told me this. What he had been saying was what he did when he was coming, and everything was about him. That he was telling people now that he is the one who has been excited. In a revelation that he had a couple of weeks ago with an QTV interview, he said, which is actually very terrible. Mr. Dabo was having a discussion with his colleagues, the whole thing, the coalition stuff. When ECOWAS people came in there, I think Johnson Salif and others, he told them that he wanted to have a one-on-one with Johnson Salif, and he did not want any of the coalition members to be a part of it. He told them he does not want anybody to know. Let him make it look like the president, ECOWAS chair or whatever, was the one who was requesting a one-on-one with him. It had nothing to do with it. And that's how he sneaked around behind his colleagues and go and meet those people. And he came in public and told everybody now after 4 or 5 years now. So he always had that kind of like a sinister demeanor or attitude around him that he is doing stuff without consulting people. So I don't think that credit will have to go to Mr. Dabo. I really don't think so.
All right. Thank you. I mean, for a lot of context there, because some of the things is actually new info for even me. I was going to ask you about the current political environment. What do you think? What do you think could be done to basically direct political parties and aspirants to talk about issues rather than, you know, finding some, you know, spurious things, you know. Basically, sometimes the conversation is driven by social media. Because right now, for the last 6 months, I've been living in the Gambia. And sometimes things are happening. Even, I'll give you one example. There was an announcement, we'll have 1 day public holiday for the Eid. And then, of course, there was some, you know, noise about that, and then it changed. And that was not the first time those things happened. So basically, we cannot underestimate social media as far as the governance in this country is concerned. But, you know, I also think social media is sometimes fanning certain things because of the unnecessary allegations that they make about, especially people who are not in government, against Lawyer Dabo, against all kinds of people. What do you think responsible Gambian citizens should be doing this time towards December, from now on to December, to make sure that we have a credible election, but also we have an opportunity to choose who is best for our country?
Remember at the start of this conversation, I said, when I was thanking you for this platform, I said we need to have people who understand issues be leading this conversation. If somebody like me who do not know much and do not understand a lot of issues is given a platform, I would be interested in bringing people who are going to give me clicks. It's not just in the Gambia that people clickbait. People, media houses or platforms who want to be having people that are going to give them a great deal of viewership. And then sometimes how they say a lie is more entertaining than the truth. It's true. If you have to bring me on a platform in here and I started insulting people, but tomorrow you are going to be having a whole bunch of views on this issue. But if you have to bring in somebody else who have more issues than me and you have it on issues, when I accuse our people of not having a reading culture, I'm not trying to demean them. I'm trying to encourage, because I also know that our people don't. We are so big on sound bites. Moving forward, I think what we need to do is we need to be able to have people who understand these issues and they're really, really interested in the affairs of the country moving forward to take charge of this conversation. I'm not going to come to your platform if you do not invite me. If you know that I have a penchant for loudness and saying some wide stuff of the world, and you bring me in there, the expectation is that how you see me is what you're expecting on the program, and I'm going to have to do that.
Yes.
When you look at the political parties, though, the leaderships of these political parties, especially with the UDP, you will not have any member of a UDP party who is, especially in the executive or senior member, go on a platform and say something outrageous that is going to divide the country further. Of course, we have loose cannons like myself on social media and some more people who would do that. That's natural. But when I tell people that I have very less influence in the UDP, so what I say on social media should have been my position and not been a reflective of the party, I think people should believe it. But I can also understand my proximity perhaps to certain people in the party and how I am social media dependent. Some of the things that I will do, if they are negative, they're going to reflect on the party. I totally understand that. But somebody who has a fake profile only because they have Honorable Dabo as their profile and they go profile picture and they go on social media and say something outlandish cannot be credited to the UDP. There's a reason the UDP did Congress and they elected executive members. These are the people that are supposed to be steering the affairs of the party. A random person on the street saying something about the party like some wild out of the world stuff should be limited to that. And I understand the party has a responsibility sometimes when certain things are said on behalf of the party for them to come and address it. But you will not find a single political party leader in that country who consistently, religiously, incessantly will go on a platform and conclude their address with telling people that let us be mindful of what we say on social media. Let us not burn bridges. Let us not insult people. Let us not castigate people. Let's be one family. Mr. Dabo is the one person who does that. It does not matter anywhere. You will not find any leader that is as consistent as him. Perhaps that could be he's one person who is more accessible and he's always more talking to people. And anytime it comes in, it comes in there. And this whole notion that UDP insults will always come up in there. But how is it that all of a sudden this whole kind of mess is credited to the UDP when we have the president of the country, who are the political platform, will bring in people and say some disrespectful stuff about their opponents, who are not only just their opponents, but they are leaders in a country, in a society. We have seen several rallies, especially including the one that happened at Buffer Zone, where Fatma Jawara said some outrageous stuff about Mr. Dabo, some personal insult. We seen at the Ash too when Babaja also mounted the political platform and said something until Ahmad Ba and others were saying that he should get out of the platform or off the platform. We had seen at the State House when Ibrahim Silla, who actually was a member of the UDP, a guy that we had a lot of respect for because we had a dealing with him, went to the State House and was telling people they like trying to do a scare tactics and telling people, given the idea that the UDP is a violent political party, people should not be voting for those people, and they're insulting elders of Combo and stuff like that. So if we're having people who are in positions of responsibility planning this kind of stuff, it's an issue. As far as I'm concerned, I did not see any member of the UDP who is a senior member of the party, a responsible member, go on any platform and make any irresponsible statements. And this, I think, should be the trend. Political party leaders and members of their executive, or those who would they give a mic to, should be the ones who should be interested in building this cohesion, this oneness, this togetherness, this respect. To understand that in as much as we have differences, the differences should be stuck to ideas or how we think. Because any political party you find in the country, when they give you their manifesto, you will see that there's a sector of the community they want to address. The difference would be that I believe that my political party had a better program, they had a better approach, they had better ideas, they had better personnel to be able to do better than the rest of the parties. So if that is the difference, the interest should be that how do we go and sell these issues? And this is why for the past 6 years, 1 year or two exactly, or especially when the UDP were out of government, I like the direction that they're going, because anybody who comes in, they will sell, especially recently, the 5-point agenda that the party is intending to do. The rest of the parties can do that, but for the president and his party, I don't think they have the ability to do that. I not using your platform to say those kind of stuff, but I can't. When you look at them, I did not see the personnel who do have the capacity to come and tell people what they think they can do as a government and agriculture and stuff. Instead, they're interested in.
Well, you are free to say anything on my platform, unless it is incriminating. Other than that, you can say anything. And if anybody else has opinions and they want to share my platform, they can come and say it.
That's fine.
So, yeah. But
so that's when you look at their I only saw a list of the people who were in their executive and stuff, and I'm no disrespect to them, but and I have not seen anybody among those people who ever had any sort of responsibility to think that they
so
would be able
basically
to
you are suggesting that NPP should basically we talk about more substantive things relating to their programs and policy agenda and things like that. And so I was going to connect to that. You mentioned that Lawyer Dabo is the only political leader that always admonishes his followers and his supporters to be respectful and so on. Do you think it is going to be in the interest of the UDP if the UDP supporters that are on social media platforms do their communication, their party politicking using the UDP 5-point issues rather than diminishing the conversation to personal stuff and so on? Because a lot of times, I know personally that this is not true, but a lot of people bring this out. Oh, UDP don't have any program. Probably that's because we don't talk about the programs a lot. I say we because, full disclosure, I support UDP. So for people to know that, and I am one person I don't believe in objectivity. There's nobody who is objective as far as I'm concerned. Everybody has a bias and you stand from your point of bias and discuss the world. So for that to be clear, so that people don't think I'm hypocritical or something. But don't you think it would be in the interest of the UDP for the people that are active on social media to do their communication using the UDP agenda bullet points and so on, rather than diminishing the conversations to things? Even if some people provoke them, don't you think they should follow the example of Lawyer Dabo and his leadership to do that?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And again, this is why I said if you look at the presence, I think the UDP has more presence on social media than the rest of the party, right? And because of that, you're going to have a mixed bag of all sort of people that you have. There are people like me who will not be able to how do you say, expand on the ideas of the party to be able to sell it to the next person. Maybe I do not have what it takes. There might be an Alieu Dabo who understands those issues. So if I do not understand those issues, to be able to go and tell people what the UDP programs are, it's very natural that I'll be picking on little things out in there that just so I can have something to say. This is why I said people are interested in soundbite. But if you notice one of the things that I do better, if you can go on my timeline, you will hardly find me mention people's names or even go at this people. Once in a while I'll go at Doi, but the only reason I do with that is I have good colleagues at Doi that they are my sparring partners. I do that. But when it comes to issues, when I'm talking about, I hardly mention ministers. I hardly mention public servants because one, I do not know these people. But the most important thing for me is I keep on focus. Is me as somebody who supports the UDP, and my interest is to replace the government that is in there. It would just do me a good world of good for me to go and talk about the party's program. And then right after the Congress, I did serialize UDP's 5-point stuff that the party leader talked about when he was in there, and I did that for about a month. There was a time myself, Nada, and Boubacar, we were doing some program on Facebook trying to talk about the party's manifestos and stuff like that, right? I wish we were able to have a lot of people who were able to do that. I definitely wish I could. But if we would not have enough people if we don't have that many people, well, we do have that many people, but then the more people that we have on social media who support the UDP, a lot of us will not be able to understand the issues as much as you would, or Nada would, or like Estabo would and stuff like that. So it's natural that they would just be running with that kind of stuff. But I agree with you. This is why even on our platforms that are bearing the name of the UDP, I wish when we come over there, even when something was said about XYZ, we would ignore them and concentrate the message, the discussion on the message. Perception is very important in politics. Only one person, the one thing that I would say on social media, even if it were my opinion, but like I said, my proximity with some other people and then how quote unquote I stand within UDP supporters in the diaspora, it is going to be projected as that of the party. So I'm very, very conscious of that. If you notice it, like the last couple of years, I had kind of calmed down a little bit on my engagement with people, especially antagonizing.
You've moved. I think it comes with the maturity. I think as you do with these things, eventually you get more polished and so on. Like my interview with Madi, probably yours would be better. The more I do it, will be better. It has nothing to do with your level of education sometimes. It's just your well, the tools that you have, how much conversant are you with those tools? And personally, we talked about the interrelations that exist between Gambians. It doesn't make sense to insult anybody.
Yeah.
For example, perhaps you have friends in the current government. I have friends in the current government.
Yeah.
I have people that I probably could call brothers in this current government and so on. So therefore, it's not, it shouldn't go to personal level. My idea of political participation is I have a choice, I have a view. It could be different from my brother of the same mother. We still remain brothers, but politically we have divergent views. And I think every Gambian needs to celebrate that kind of diversity so that our democracy can mature and our country can harness all the different talents under different shades of opinion. Because if you focus on just the ones who agree with you, at the end of the day, your ideas are not challenged. It leads to mediocrity. We've seen it in the Ajambe government, to the fact that excellence was destroyed in this country. Mediocrity got promoted. People who don't know much, but they are loyal, blindly loyal, got promoted, got leadership and so on. And it has basically destroyed the if you like, the economic infrastructure of this country, the civil service of this country, and a lot of things. And I think whoever comes into government in December, they need to focus on those things to make sure that how do you harness the diversity of views and talent and skills throughout this country. And it will be very useful if UDP or any other political party could focus their energies on those things. But I have one more thing to talk about. Then we, two Jarangas, will talk about Jara. Because today with the rain disasters that happen, people losing their homes. I understand support was given to some regions, but Jara did not receive. And somebody who is from Jara is concerned, and he's part of this emergency response thing. And they sent me some information, and because they know I have connection with people around the world, so that we come together like we did with the COVID to raise resources to support. And I have documentations that they've shared with me that I will share with various Jara-related organizations. But before then, because people will be wondering, what happened between you and Baba Jara? What happened? We only saw video, police talking to you, police talking to him, people sitting. What happened? Can you share anything that you can share? Because I know since the police were involved, probably everything cannot be said.
Totally. So when I was talking about me, and I was talking about me not burning bridges, that I even if I call somebody an associate or a friend, I try to make sure that I do not do anything that is gonna ruin our whatever relationship that we have. I do not know Baba Jara. I have lived in Seattle for 2 years now, and I had seen him 3 times. The 4th one was the encounter at the park. So it's not like we're friends or whatever. I do not know him. I think my numerous commentaries, or a few commentaries that I had about him when he was, especially the first one being when he went to Gambia at the Arch, and I told him that even Ahmad Ba was saying that they need to take the mic from this guy. Those ones did not sit well with him, because I remember when he came back, he did a Facebook Live, and then it was going at me, saying stuff that was not true anyway. But then that was fine. Now, when he went to the Gambia, this last one, and he had an interview with the Fado Network, and he had said some crazy stuff in there. In my post, I did not even mention him. I only mentioned his name to say that he was the guest, but my problem was not with him. I categorically stated that I do not blame Baba Jara. I blame the host of the program, because before the program, I did tell this man that there was no way that you could have controlled this man coming on the platform. The only reason that you were inviting him to the platform was because he had said some crazy stuff that got a buzz, and now you want to come in here and also write in the same part. And I said, and I don't have I'm not trying to silence anybody. I don't have any interest in telling people to shut up. What I am saying is, just like we said, when we're having a discussion on national issues on platforms like this, we need to be careful in bringing people that we think are going to be responsible and adding value to our conversation. That was the only reason I said it would not make sense to bring this man in here, because already I have known him. I followed him on social media, and some of the things he had said about certain people. I said, when you bring this man, he's going to disrespect somebody that you will not be able to do anything about it. And which I think I was wrong, because he could have done something about it. Because personally, if you have me on your platform in here, I am saying something about the relative. Even when we are live, you have the opportunity to say, hey, let's not go over there, stop it.
Yeah.
So if I want to say something about somebody else who is not your relative, you still have the same opportunity to say, stop it.
Yeah.
So when that thing started, the host was just foiling this man. Look at this man. So I was disgusted by that, but I still did not say anything about the guest, or the platform. I did not say anything about Baba Jadi guest. I did not say anything about Fire Network, the platform. My disappointment that I stated was towards the host of the program, and I said, Mohammed, and I said, I am not watching this program again. I restrained a lot in saying this because, like I said, Fatu was a friend of mine. Me and Fatu were talking about this issue the morning that she appeared on For the People by the People show. The day that this thing actually went out of hand. She would not tell anybody at any point in her line of work that I prevailed on her to say, bring XYZ on your platform, don't bring XYZ on it. That is not my place. I am friends with a lot of these media personalities, but they will not tell you that I do that. That is not my place. But I want to believe that I'm tolerant, and I want to believe that I have a degree of a Democrat in me that I can understand, I can appreciate divergent views, even where I disagree. So I didn't do any of those. Now, Babaja claimed that somebody shot at his car in a drive-by. And he went about showing that in a video, claiming, who's trying to kill me? But I have this, that, blah, blah. And there's talks about, oh, he has a problem with UDP people, they're this, they're that, blah, blah, blah. And he was having a spent case with them. So I was like, this does not make sense. If somebody attacks you, I think the first thing you would do,
call the police.
Is call the police, not go on Facebook Live. So I went to Linwood Police, and I said, I introduced myself that I am Gambian, that we have a very close-knit Gambian community in here. We look out for each other, even where we do not get along, but we still look out for each other. And then there was a member of our community who claimed that there was a drive-by shooting, and he had a video. It was Facebook Live. So I do not know if you report this to the police, but we will be interested if you guys can look into this and actually do a welfare check on him. That's what I told the police, that they can do a welfare check on him.
Yeah.
So the police officer said, okay, do you know where he lives? I'm like, no, I do not know. I'm like, but then the number that I have for him, I'm calling, but he's not answering. And I honest to God, have a number for him that I was calling, but it was not going through. So they asked me, where does he live? I'm like, I don't know. I gave them his first and last name, and the cop said, okay, we will be going to his last known address and see if he's there, and we'll do a welfare check. We'll let you know if everything's okay. That's what I did. And I came on social media and I said that. So I was at the park. Gambians were celebrating July 4th, kind of like a community event so people can get together and have fun and stuff. So
we do it in Detroit. We do it. Almost everybody does it, yeah.
Okay, Brikama, we're playing Serekunda East. From where I was standing, from my peripherals, I saw him coming into the park. I saw him. So he came back. I think he must have gone in the back and then come back when he had seen me. He did not come behind me. He walked in straight and went right in front of the goalkeeper, because I was standing to the left of the goalkeeper. In front of the goalkeeper, we have hanging out with people talking about politics and Gambia and stuff. And this dude came and stood right in front of me and said, so you went to the police and reported my issue. And he let off. No greetings, nothing.
Wow.
But when I saw him coming, he was having the phone in his hands. I would not suspect that he was recording, because the phone was not like this. The phone was just in his hand coming. But something tells me that he was doing something with that phone. So when he said that, that's when anything, whatever happened. So he called the cops. The cops came. I told them I did not touch this dude. He came in front of me and verbally assaulted me and wanted to attack me, and I pushed him. And every witness in there corroborated the same thing. But he came online a day later and told everybody that he was recording when he was coming, and he came and insulted me, and I pushed him. But then he said he did not know that I was that stupid and dumb that I would do what I had done. So basically, one, he lied to the police to tell them that I assaulted him. He left.
So basically, he was setting you up to record you and then probably use it against you. Yeah.
Correct. So he had made that on tape. So, but I think his own thing was, he probably must have been thinking when he came to the park and insulted my mother, I would be standing on the other side and start calling insults here and there, kind of that kind of stuff, so he can go and play that on his Facebook Live. Or he knew that when he come in there and insult my mom, I would react and people would come between us and he'll go and play that. Or that I will put hands on him so he can call the cops. So it's going to be one of these three. So that's what happened. And the police came. I explained my side of the story. He explained his side, and he was showing them that I hit him here, I did this, I did that, because you can tell the cop was saying that he said you knock him, and then he fell, you knock him again, and you kick him. When you look at the video that I share, you will see that's what the police is demonstrating. He came on live and said I pushed him, which is fine. I'm not going to say what happened in the park. I'm just saying that's what happened. So, but I am I am super jovial. That's why I keep telling people I'm silly, but I'm not stupid. I live in a country of laws. I'm not going to be putting hands on anybody only because I like them or I don't like them. I'm not going to be putting hands on anybody only because what they said, I do not like them. But anybody who knows me and my mother, will know that I like it was not going to be like you're not going to do something like that and I give you a hug. That's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that I'm violent or I'll be violent, but that's not just Babaja. I don't care if you're a woman or you are a baby or a man. If what he had done at the park about my mother, anybody who had done that, I would do the same thing. And even if that is tomorrow, I would do the same thing.
Well, is the matter settled now?
Oh yeah. The cops took statement, and then they treated it as disturbance, and then there wasn't that somebody came in my space, and then I defended myself by pushing them off. There was no definitive crime. They treated it as disturbance, and that's it.
Yeah, well, in the US, as you very well know, we call it stand your ground.
Of course.
Somebody comes in your space, you stand your ground. Yeah,
there is one thing, a narrative that I had seen a few people run with it. Oh, you guys are in here fighting for politicians, blah, 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 when their kids are not there. I am not fighting for Useno. Useno has kids and family. What
if you are fighting for him even?
But that's what I'm even saying. That's what I'm saying. What Babaja said about Useno, did I like it? No. Would it have led to a confrontation? It would depend on how the conversation went. But what I'm saying is like those people who are saying that he attacked Babaja, I did not attack that dude. He came and said what he said, and I did what I did. I'm not bothered by what he's saying. But the idea that they want to project me as kind of like an angry party supporter and who is violent, it would have been something else, but not Babaja. I would not. But yeah, that's just what happened.
Yeah, on that point, do you think that Gambians, especially younger Gambians who are active in politics, need to basically recalibrate? Know that as a Gambian community, we have a lot of respect for elderly people. For example, I don't think you will condone somebody verbally abusing the president, saying certain nasty things about him. So that which we are known for, respect for elders and stuff, but do you think everybody, UDP, NPP, everybody should observe that?
Absolutely, 100%. But I clown President Barrow. I joke on President Barrow and stuff like that, right? But I tried as much as possible to not even get close to any platform that I know I insulting the president. I mean, I don't have interest in viewing those. I don't watch them.
I've not even watched Babaja's thing still now. I've never watched it.
No, I don't watch that. Actually, he blocked me.
They told me something is an insult. I don't watch it because I'm a Muslim also, so I don't have to listen to those kind of stuff.
The only way, because one, I am a very curious person. When it comes to interviews and stuff like this, I am one person who will watch everything because how I engage people. I don't want to be go on something where somebody told me this, so I'm going to. So I watch, literally we watch everything. But Babaja had blocked me a long time ago anyway, but I never had any interest in plus I have this discipline of staying away from a lot of stuff. Even with the news links, if I understand that this is a clickbait by reading the headlines, I don't click it. This is why when people are talking about the boycott, I said, I don't have to unfollow a particular page for me to stay away from it. I have the discipline to choose what I watch and what I listen to. I don't have to unfollow to do those. So, and that's not just Babaja, but even people in our community, in the party that I belong to, there is a reason these people will tell you that we only want to insult Useno because when you insult Useno, that's what angers them or angers them, and that is a fact. Alieu, Mr. Dabo, to a lot of us, including myself, is more than a political party leader. When you look at Useno, I can see my parents or my grandparents or my uncles in Useno because we pretty much had kind of like a similar upbringing. So when I can relate to Mr. Dabo on several levels other than politics. Personally, when my mother was sick, when my mom was sick, almost every other day, Mr. Dabo would call me and check on me and see how my mom was doing. That goes a long way, even in just mere relationships. He didn't have to do that. But it goes to show the amount of the kind of relationship we have and the mutual respect that we have. He would check on her. When my mom died, he actually intended to send somebody over there for the 40 days. And it did happen that I didn't even know that he had that in mind. He only called me a day after the 40 days. I couldn't go in 40 days because I wanted to send somebody in. He left his home to go and see my daughter. He didn't have to all those. He didn't have to do all those. I'm saying that to say somebody is like, you can relate to some person on that level. So I keep telling you, when somebody insults me, it gets to me. So this is why I'm not going to insult anybody's parents or anybody's leader, because they understand that this is what happens. So they go and unnecessarily insult Mr. Dabo. But what I keep telling people is like, if you and I have a problem, I tell you something crazy or nasty, which is wrong. My expectation is that you will not migrate my disrespect to somebody else who has absolutely nothing to do with it. If you were to do anything, it should come to me. You insult me, insult my parents. No, but I insulted, so what?
Yep.
But if I have an issue with you,
that is it. When you insult other people or their parents, basically inviting insult for your own parents.
Absolutely. You will never find Mr. Dabo's kids anywhere engaging anybody on that disrespectful level. So why would it make sense for somebody to have a problem with Pata only because Pata supports the UDP and he has yellow as a profile, and you will have to migrate it and go eat Mr. Dabo to go and insult that? It doesn't make any sense.
No,
it doesn't. So, but again, whether it is any other party, whatever, I'm always trying to prevent our people to say, let us not do anything to them that is going to push them to say something about Mr. Dabo. And by the way, I would disclose this. There was one time that I think in one of our UDP platforms, something was said about somebody who is not UDP. They were saying that, oh, he had done it. And something else was said about the president. Mr. Dabo called me here in the morning, our time. It was like 11:30 our time. That would have been Subamafung in the Gambia. It had been like 5 in the morning, right? He said, I have seen what was said about XYZ, and I do not like it. I want you to talk to these people so they can restrain. I said, okay. He hung up the phone and called me back immediately after and picked up the phone and said, I know it's pretty late. Where Borges is the chair of the UDP diaspora. He said, but I want you to convene a meeting today. I want to talk to everybody who goes on those platforms and represent the UDP. So the 3 platforms that we have, the UDP TV and Media, UDP Online Bantaba, and UDP Kibaro and stuff, all of those people who appear on those platforms, I convened a meeting and Mr. Dabo was there, including those who were prominent on social media and say stuff. And his advice to them was, 1, there are people that you guys are talking about on this platform who are UDP. They might not be outward as public about it as you and I, but then just as we're talking about this Buntung Funkon, and there was somebody in here who brought in like, I don't know, 50 bags of rice and 50 gallons of oil and all that kind of stuff. And that person perhaps may be in public service or civil service. You guys will not know where he is. So if you guys attack that person, how do you think his family is going to feel? How do you think that person is going to feel? That I'm supporting this party, giving them this, but then their militants are in public saying this about it. I swear to God, I swear to God, this is what Mr. Dabo and anybody who was there heard it. And he said, even if somebody is not a member of our party, if you say something about them, they are family members who are members of our party, you said this, you might push them away. Or if somebody is straddling the fence and they're thinking, where do they go? Certain things that you say about them or their families will push them away. Our goal should be able to bring people in. They don't have to agree with our programs 100%. But we should be able to have everybody on board. There are people who are never going to be, but let's not give them the opportunity to use that as an excuse as to why they will not support the party. And he also said one thing. He said, if you guys go on a platform, which is major in here, if you go on a platform and say something that is not true, you said it once, you said it twice, and it comes out that it's not true. How is that going to help you in selling the programs of the party? Because ordinarily, you would have said it 1, 2, 3 times you had said something that's not true. So we're not going to be listening to you. Perhaps what you said is not true. I swear to God, I was in that meeting. We were on that meeting for like 2 hours. That's what Mr. Dabo said.
Well,
So
I hope everybody follows his advice.
What he had been saying in public is what he has been saying to us behind the scenes. So if I come out and say something outrageous, people cannot blame Mr. Dabo for that. Why can I blame Mr. Dabo for that? Because he had done his part. I am gone. Whatever I am saying on social media, Mr. Dabo is not the one dictating it. He's not telling me to say it. So that's what people need to understand. But to your point, yes, our members, particularly, because if I have to appeal, my appeal will have to go to them. Our members should be able to focus on what we have. We have until December. UDP has a lot of programs that they need to deal with. The people who are saying that UDP does not have program, it's not because we have not been talking about it. Every political party in that country has a program. I have seen people who are older than me, they're more educated than me, will tell you that UDP does not have programs. But if they look around, they will see that UDP programs are all over the place. The way that they were interested in reading by certain other stuff, if they were interested in reading the programs of the other parties, they found them. And not to take a slide at any party, but the people who are saying PDIS that has programs, when I engage those people and say, what does the PDIS have on this? And they would not be able to say because they go by what the interviews that Honorable Saleh said. They have not really uploaded their program. And just to clear something and say, when I say that Mr. Dabo is the one political party who would condemn insults, I just want to say that Honorable Saleh in their last Congress did say to his people that insults have no place in their party, but anybody who does, if those who insult do not have any message to sell and they are not welcome in his party, fine, he did say that. But again, that was the one and the only time that I heard Honorable Saleh address that issue. The point I am making was Dabo is very consistent on religiously admonishing people against this kind of stuff, and that had been since time immemorial. But our people need to restrain and have these things take their natural course.
Absolutely. So, what are Para's hobbies? What do you do, man? Apart from your misplaced love for Manchester United.
Man, I am an avid United fan, and so growing up in Sukuta, Nema, I remember Clark Badger's home used to have Saturday. Clark Badger, the former governor of Central Bank.
Governor, yeah.
So we would go over there and watch these games, and it used to be Canal Plus and then some other stuff that were not even in English. I remember particularly I watched a Premier League game between United and Liverpool. This had to be 93-94, and it was a 3-3. Vividly, I remember the goals that were scored. Steve Bruce scored a goal, Ryan Giggs scored a goal, and I think A1. So Cantona was the person that I really, really liked. So, and then I know I am younger than you or whatever, but in Jara, I used to play a little bit in Naruto too. I used to play Naruto in there, whatever. So I had always been a United fan, and Eric Cantona I used to support Alan Shearer, but in United had been since 1993. But in soccer is my stuff. I am an avid lover of going out to eat at restaurants, especially where they have.
You and Abubakar Siddiq, who is the better player?
Nah, Buba, I think Buba has more mouth on him than anything. And now he doesn't even know how to kick the ball. Buba will go to the park and watch a game and come back and get injured. Man, my knees is out. So I have never seen him kick a ball, but I am very sure I'm a better player than him.
I'll give you a chance to throw shade on you too.
Coach Pasama is gonna disagree with that, but yeah, I'm a better player. So and that too, and I love reading. If something is good, I don't care how long it is. I would love to read it. And I keep telling people this, like if somebody writes something and you find my stamp on it, kind of like an emoji or whatever, that kind of stuff, best believe that I read it. Because I kind of became a little careful with just the idea of just liking stuff and not reading the whole of it when there will be something quoted in there, whether it's going to be some sort of like an insult or disrespect to somebody or intelligent. I try to stay away from those. So I would rather go and put my comment on somebody's post than just like it and go. So I love reading, and then that's just about it.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually you referenced the email that I sent you 2002. I am surprised that you are not in the arts reading some literature or something, because I think the email that you wrote, you said it was long, but it was enjoyable because it was well written. And I'm like, I think you are in the wrong field. Why are you studying economics? And
You did say that.
yeah, but, So, but yeah, that's that. So finally, I want us to talk about this disaster thing that happened in Jara, because you and I and others have participated to raise resources for Jara. Today, just while I was preparing for this conversation, one Jaranga, who works at a particular institution but has a lot of information about this disaster thing because of his involvement with it, told me some places got some, help and stuff, but Jara definitely did not, and Kiang and all that stuff. So he reached out to me after this discussion. I'll forward his WhatsApp messages to you. He reached out to me to also reach out to other Jarankas and all that stuff to see what we can do for people in Jara, because I've seen, some people here in the Combos who are still struggling. Some of my colleagues at the university whose houses were damaged. I know also some extended family members whose houses were damaged, and they're still trying to recover from those things. And so I don't know, what would you say to fellow Jarankas in terms of coming together to do something?
So, but besides the passion that I have for UDP, which is secondary in here, I am a Jaranka first. I always talk about Jara all the time. So,
and if you want, you can say that part in Mandinka if you want. It's okay, so that we reach more people.
Yeah,
if you want.
And I feel like mobe bulo me ko be bare na fonko be nyonyata nenyin sifal na tan dia na da kuya na da nyanta rally around na da pour nga nyoma koy nga groupe so men yalan koy siatale. I think we will not be able to consolidate all these meetings once groups and I think we need to call a whole general Jara meeting, those in the diaspora or whatever, Zoom call so and we do what we needed to do, which is fundraising for resource mobilization. Or if not, if we're not able to go, at least to brainstorm as to what we would do to do an assessment of the damage. We have a lot of people around in here. I think $100 we should be able to at least and I think the conversation needs to start in the group that we have over there. Then I figure out now group was here we then reach out to everybody in here and in general meeting because summer start to sign, a lot more is going to happen. Possibly we're going to have another windstorm or even another rain damage. I figure out now we mobilize resources as soon as possible. I give a Germany along that didn't mobile, but many along the Tinyaro water back, like the Bible and block on the moral table bank, the table bank. We help them. Hundred get to the dealer or Mako Kairos to the bone. I think we need to do that. I think that would be the good start. I'm glad because I text Honorable Seni. Ganyan and Kanu Jara is being added and was telling me as far as you know, Sugar the man that damage has among major reports but that's a National Assembly member who is in the Combos. He probably would not know. But in every group that we have, their part is somebody from a particular village. We need to be able to do a damage assessment, and I figure out now as a group what we need to do. But most importantly, I think we need to be able to do a fundraiser. Hanama can follow that matter. If it means we're going to be writing to other places and institutions and solicit donations and stuff, I think we need to be able to do that.
Yeah. So thank you very much. What would be your last word, Pada? What would you tell people?
So personally, but my social media engagement, I know sometimes it could be annoying, especially when we're not on the same side with somebody. But I also want to assure people that there is nothing malicious no malicious intent in what I do when I engage people. Sometimes perhaps my jokes might be a little too dry and they're not humorous, and people might not find them funny and might think that I'm trying to disrespect. I would not do that. Like for example, what happened to me at the park. That's my mother. I can imagine if I have to disrespect somebody, especially somebody's parents, how they're going to feel. I do want to tell people that we can do our political engagements and have robust disagreements, but we should be able to limit it to issues. If I tell you something that you don't like and I notice that you don't like it, I should be able to restrain and just let go. What we need to do in moving forward is like we have until December. We have a lot of stake. We're having a president who is telling people, telling on issues that are not going to in any way develop our country. It's all about him. We need to be able to do our campaign in a way that we're going to hold our leaders accountable. I support the UDP. I support Mr. Dabo. I definitely believe that Mr. Dabo is going to be a very good leader. I think the UDP will be able to effect a lot of changes in that country. Somebody feels different. But even if you do not feel different, anybody who has an opportunity to have Mr. Dabo before you, I want them to robustly challenge this man and push him to understand that there is certain things at stake in the country and that needs fixing. I want people to put Mr. Dabo on the spot to make sure that when he comes in the government, or if he does come in the government, people will be able to pull those cards to say, Mr. Dabo, years back, this is what you said that you're going to do about agriculture. This is what you say you're going to do about the health sector. Now we're here down to tell us why you think we need re-election. When you have people in positions of responsibility, especially elected positions, this is what you do to them. You can do this without being disrespectful. And you can do it and even perhaps expose somebody to say, this person that they're selling to be the best leader, he perhaps did not have what it takes, then it could give an opportunity to look at somebody else. If we have conversations based on issues, then your time figure out no, we can do this engagement. And for my colleagues on the other side too, if somebody aggressively interviews Mr. Dabo and then they stuck with the issue, we should not see that as disrespect. And I can understand Mr. Dabo can hold his own. He will be able to understand what is at stake. We need to be able to do our corral and then do our engagements and based on issues. According to we have a leadership in place that is going to be respectful, responsible, responsive, and accountable. And I think Mr. Dabo has all this. When it comes to our people as a community, some of the things that we're seeing on social media is toxic, and it's just not confined to the UDP, to the Gambia. It happens all over. But we should be able to have an ability to filter. If you better knows that on my social media platform, what I do in there is rubbish and I'm insulting people and that kind of stuff, you should be able to have the discipline to tune out and not give me extra platform by sharing that kind of stuff. You should not be able to go and engage this person and amplify their message, especially if the message is toxic. The young people, I keep saying, right now, maybe in the next 5-10 years, we probably wouldn't be anything. We might probably just be ordinary people walking in the streets or even working in some other department. But 20, 30, 40 years down the line, we are the people that people are going to be looking up to. If a 50-year-old me or 60-year-old me want to be in a leadership position, but I had already in my 20s and 30s had a great deal of bad, dividing the people, saying certain kind of stuff that are ugly. When those things come back, I should be mindful of how I'm going to rationalize or even explain to those that, oh, I cannot just use an excuse to say I was young. I'm over 40 years old. So I cannot be out here doing certain stuff thinking that in my 50s is when I'm going to have to repent and recalibrate to say what I have done in my 40s was wrong. When everybody keep this in mind and we engage them, we might disagree, but our disagreements will still remain civil. And even after what we disagree over is over, we'll be able to get along and continue. So my last word is we need to be a little bit careful in how we engage people, but we also have to be respectful in our dealings because that's what we know as a people. They think that the Gambians are a reflection of the leaders we have. It's not true. Ordinarily, a Gambian is generally very moderate and very respectful. We have three leaders. We have Sarauda, we have Yaya Jammeh, and we have President Barrow. All these three people are different. So if we say that the Gambians are a reflection of our people, who among these three are Gambians then? It will depend on who you have. People, you cannot know people unless you put them in a position of responsibility. Sometimes that's when the best or the worst of us come out. So we just need to treat each other as keep be each other's keeper, and we move on from that. After all, the politics is gonna go. I mean, politics is always gonna be here, but we shouldn't have it divide us to a point that we will not be able to get along and do things together as a people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patasedikan. That was a very enlivening conversation, and my apologies for the interruption due to power failure, but at least it didn't last too long. It came back on, and because the power went out, our router went off, so it had to, and when it comes, it boots and, it takes a minute. So, but thanks a lot. For me, it's just my way of hanging out. So basically, you've kept me company, because in my typical life, me, I'll be sitting here with somebody talking about the stuff we just talked about. Yeah. So, and anybody's welcome here, but I always have a disclaimer. The views that I express here are the views of Pata and myself.
Yeah.
And we are not imposing it on we are not imposing it on anybody. And every Gambian and every human being is entitled to have similar or different views. Correct. And if you want to speak to us, you can come here anytime you want. You can contact me on Facebook and say, hey, Alieu, I also have some things that I want to say about, the Gambians. So we talk about it, but there's no need to condemn me or Pata or anybody for the views that they espouse, unless those views are bad for humanity, bad for Gambia, bad for anything. But just to re-echo your point of respect and, to understand that people have views, they're entitled to their views. You have a view, you are entitled to your view, and that's it. So live and let live, that's all.
Yeah, that's true.
But thank you, I enjoyed your company for that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
and as I get more experience, I'll bring you back on, because right now I'm getting, I'm grappling with.
Especially considering I am going to be the next chief of staff, so you probably want to have some more seat for me, because I'll be here often. And the UDP government is
no. So yeah, at least you are not Ram Emmanuel, so we can still handle you. So that guy understand, he sends dead fish to people, so
Right.
But yeah, I'm also somebody might say, oh, Alieu is highly educated, but definitely I'm not savvy when it comes to social media. I've never used most of these things, but I think there is a gap there in the conversations and in the social media that I think I can bring people who, I know that a lot of people listen to you. I know that a lot of people listen to Madi Jobad and so many other people. So I want to bring these people here, hang out, speak to them in a conversational way, and not confronting people, and teach myself to listen, because I talk about myself. So you can see I'm learning to be quiet when other people are talking and so on. But I enjoyed your company, and I hope people who will be watching the transcript will also enjoy it and would learn one or two things from there. I learned a lot of things, and thanks for waking up early this weekend, because Seattle is way behind everybody here. But you have the luxury to go back to sleep later. So
thank you, brother, man. But just to add your disclosure, I will disclose that you're not a social media friend. You're my brother. So in case they're watching this and they see the nature of our relationship, do not be like, oh, these people are cuddling and stuff. We are brothers, like for real. Like, I'm talking about related brothers. So for that disclosure, I want
most people who know you. Yeah, most people who know you and know me know that. So, but that's it. I mean, every Gambian should be a brother to the other person and the other people.
Correct.
And then I'll be bringing them here. But thankfully, I know only smart people. I'm the dumb one, so I'll bring them here to.
Far from it. And like I said, like you keep doing this, brother, man. We will need this. We will need. You will not know where this is going to land. Somebody might pick it and learn one or two things from your engagements with people. And not just the social media stuff. There are people in the country that you can also have a session with, if it would mean walk into their office.
For me, I'm open to anybody. If you have access to someone, whom listening to whom will benefit people, suggest them, and then we'll try to get them here to just hang out with us and in a friendly way discuss and chat and share. And I don't really care what party they support or anything. Anybody who can say a thing or two, of course, if they're not going to be incendiary, insult other people and so on. So as far as I'm concerned, we should be able to disagree and still get along. We're one country. Because I was telling Madi, probably one of the challenges Gambia has is, since independence, we have not developed a national creed, a national ideology of leadership, a national ideology of how we manage our affairs and so on. So therefore, things get loose and, confusing and chaotic a lot, because everybody is bringing their own personal agenda instead of the national agenda and so on. Hopefully that changes soon, But thanks a lot, Pata. Thank you. You're looking snazzy all the time, huh? You're always well dressed, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot. Molbe Kodong, Babugar Kodong, Nata Kodong. If I go, I'll still get hold of his book. I want to read it and I'll write a review. He's a smart Nyobinka. One of the only few of them.
He's amazing.
One of the only few of them. I'll say that on record.
Absolutely. Thank you.